Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dion. I call this the crazy troll nation of YouTube, and I call this pumpkin pie chapstick. We just have on foundation, concealer, powders, bronzers, brows, blush, and highlighter. So this is the usual base face. We're going to talk about brushes today. We're going to talk about the first step we're going to do, because it's usually what I start with, shader brushes. These are all my shader brushes. Then we're going to talk about blending brushes, transition shade brushes, crease brushes, and we're also going to talk about brushes that I use for my lower lash line, and we're also going to talk about brushes I use for my upper lash line. These are from Target. They come in a 2-pack, and if you want to pause, I don't have a code or anything. I just purchased them from Target. And as I said, it comes in a 2-pack. So M design, and the size, it doesn't say. It doesn't say what size, but I keep this in here just so I know what it is. But anyway, very inexpensive. They have some that are pink at the bottom, some that are silver at the bottom, you know, whatever you want to get. So anyway, we're going to break this up depending on how we're doing for time. So it may be shader brushes, and then blending brushes, and then the liner brushes. And even though it looks like a lot of shader brushes, there's a lot of duplicates in here. There's like 3 or 4. And so what I should have done, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just pull out one of each instead of being like, here's all 6 of my Fenty number 230s. And so, but anyway, that's what we're going to do. These will be part of our beginning series. I do have some new subscribers. I don't know where everyone is at within their makeup journey, or if you're just curious about the brushes I use. You see me use them all the time. Most of them you see me use like quite a bit. So if anyone just wants to know, there are links below to Esom brushes affiliated. There is a link for the Fenty brushes, and it's affiliated through the Shop My thing. And I think I might have Hourglass down as well. Esom, I actually have a code for their, not a code, is it a code? I don't know what it is, but it's something affiliated through their website. They had a program or something. So anyway, hello and welcome if you're new here. That's what we're going to do today. If you are new, I appreciate you being here. My name is Dion. I consider myself a troll. I have been dubbed troll guru. Guru, I don't know, but guru of being a troll, I can claim that. But a guru as far as makeup, if you've seen my looks, some are like, yeah, and some are like, no. I know my limitations and challenges. I call this the crazy troll nation. The crazy, just enjoying doing videos if you do them, excuse me, knowing it's okay to be your authentic self and letting your personality shine through. The troll part is not caring too much about the beauty community standards. I'm shifting you. Is not caring too much about the beauty community standards. You set the standard for yourself. Try not to feel like you need to use a certain brand or a certain tool, even though we're talking about tools today, or a certain technique. Use whatever you want to, however you want to, including your fingers. I don't use fingers for makeup, but if that's what you like to do, do what you want to do. You have to be okay with how your makeup looks. Here, though, the bottom line is self-acceptance and self-love. Embracing your natural features, enhancing them if you want to, when you want to, but never feeling like you have to. Love yourself for who you are and for how you look, even without face paint on. That's what the Crazy Troll Nation stands for. If you are new here, I need to let you know I do curse sometimes, because I curse sometimes, period. So it may slip out in videos. I try to catch myself. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I will try to not babble because I'm exhausted. And so I'm just hoping I make sense and what I'm saying is clear. If it's not, just leave questions down below. So we're going to start with shader brushes. And so I didn't pull these out ahead of time because it's just too many of them. You know, seriously though, I wasn't sure if I was going to do this video today. And I'm like, you know what, let me just do this before I do an eye look so that way I can demonstrate like what I would do. Oh, I got 3 of those? I didn't know that. 4 of those? Really? No, those are different. Wait a minute. Yeah, those are different. That's weird. Well, not that, but I'll show you what's weird when I get to it. So right now I'm just pulling out my different shader brushes. These are excuse me, the shader brushes that I have. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 shader brushes, different shader brushes. These are all the same ones as these. So I have, if I like a brush, I'll get 3, 4, because sometimes I'll put 3 shades on the lid, sometimes 4 shades on the lid. Or if I'm doing one palette here, another palette here, and I want to keep the brushes equal, so that way I'll have like 8 of the same brushes or 6 of the same brushes. So all of these in here, oh, you know what? How am I forgetting 20? So all of these right here. So what is that? 9, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we have 10 different brushes that I use for lid. These are all the same ones. So, and this thing is almost full. Like there is like just enough space to get my man hand in there. So let's put that there. So yeah, I do think we're going to do blending separate. This brush, this was gifted to me among other things by Grace, and this is a Sigma E25 Max, and it says it's a blending brush. Because of the shape of it, because it's tapered, I use this for shading. And I moved my mirror. Excuse me. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I randomly hiccup, gurgle, and belch in videos. It's completely unintentional. So this I use for shading because of the shape of it and because it is flat. And as you see, it is tapered. So you could, if you do the traditional transition shade, you can just lay it sideways. And keep in mind, depending on the space that you have, this is my transition area. All of this puff right here is my transition area. This in here, let me get it something smaller. This in here is the crease. Where your socket is, that's your crease. From the crease down to the lash line, this is my mobile lid. And the mobile lid is when you move your eyeball, you can see your eyeball moving under the lid. So this is your mobile lid. This is your crease if you have some, if you have one, because some people don't. And from up here, this is your transition area. And this under your brow is your brow bone. And you can feel your brow bone. So I don't think I'm gonna say that in every video for the brushes. So if you do the traditional YouTuber's way of doing eyeshadow, you could use this to put your transition shade. So it usually starts not in the socket, but right above it. And they'll put a shade right here. So I can see why this is a blending brush, but I don't typically do transition shade, then crease shade, and then my lid shades. I usually take my lid shades all the way up, because otherwise if I just put a lid shade here, when I look up, you're not going to see it because it hides under the puff. You'll just see a strip of color right here, but then when I put on liner or my upper lash line, that's all you're going to see. You might see a hint of shadow in the inner corner out here. And so I take my lid shades up here into the transition area, so that way when I look up, you can still see that lid shade. So this could be actually for blending, for putting in your transition. And then even for crease, we're talking about shader brushes, and this is not that, but what is for me. And then put your crease shade directly in the crease, which is right here. So for me though, because of the shape of it, because it's flat, I use this as a shader brush. And I just pack shadow on my lid and take it up into my transition area. And you can see this in any eyeshadow look that I've done, how I just pack the shadow on with the side of whatever brush that I'm using. And so that's what I use this for, as a shader brush. So we're gonna put that away. These, when I said that's weird, I was looking at these two brushes. Both of these are Scott Barnes brushes. Can't find them anymore unless you find them secondhand somewhere. And I keep forgetting that they're different. You'll notice that one is more wide than the other one. And it says on the flip side what it's for. This one says color wash. So it's to wash color all over the entire lid. And this one says travel blender. I never use short stubby brushes for blending. I use these both for packing shadow on the lid. And what I would do with the color wash, because I don't have much of a mobile lid, but because I take my lid shades up here, a brush like this, when I lay it sideways, it will go all the way up. So this is on my lash line, but look, it goes all the way up to the transition area. And so I use this to pack on the lid, and I like it that it's larger, even though I don't use it that often, because I can do this area quickly because the brush is so wide. This one is not as dense as this, and I think it's just because it's taller. But width-wise, they are about the same. But this one, I'll do the same thing. I'll pack on the lid. More so, I use this one if I'm using like a shimmer or metallic, because this will grip it more than this one will, because this one is just a little more loose, even though it's still dense. All my brushes are synthetic. My skin and my eyelids do not like natural hair brushes. It irritates my skin and my eyelids. And so everything I'm using is synthetic. All of my brushes are soft. My skin and my eyelids require soft brushes. And so if I want a more concentrated or more control, a more concentrated placement or more control over placement, I'll use this one because it's smaller. And usually, I think all the time almost, when I place a lid shade, without adding more shadow on the brush, I will kind of just buff at the top with the top edge of the brush. And so that gets my blend going. And again, this is the crease and transition area, but because I take my lid shades all the way up, I can place it. I can either go sideways and swipe or just pack it on and then go back and just blend. So that's what I use actually all of my shader brushes for, but we're just going through what I have. And now we're going to go to this one. I purchased 2 of these. This is a Dose of Colors. I don't think I've used it for eyeshadow yet because I was using these to blend out my eyeshadow primer, but these do say shader brush. And because I wanted to start using shadow bases for, my lid shades, and I still haven't done it as much as I keep lying to myself that I'm going to do it. And I didn't want to take the chance, for smacking, on ruining my more expensive brushes. But I finally took these out from using them for eyeshadow primer because the bristles aren't really made for that, and it was becoming harder and harder to keep them clean. The primer was just getting stuck, and I was needing to scrape with my fingernails with the soapy water to get all the primer out. So I finally decided not to use this one. I have 2 of them. I finally decided not to use these for eyeshadow primer anymore. I may use them for shadow bases, not sure. But same deal, pack on the lid and then use the tip of the brush to do your blend. And you can use brushes for whatever you want to use it for. Even though this is a shader brush, you can put this, in your crease, in your transition, and turn it sideways and blend. So just use stuff however you want to, however you're comfortable with it. You can use these types of brushes, for buffing out lower lash line. You can, pull out your shadow. You can use it for a concealer around your nose, concealer under eyes. You can use brushes for whatever they work for you to do. This brush, I had it for a long time. I haven't used it in a while, and then I did use it again because when I first got it, I really liked it. What am I talking about? And I have 2 of these. This is a number 234 Makeup Forever brush, and it says straight and wavy. So it was their straight and wavy line. And it tells me it was made in somewhere I can't pronounce because the print is so friggin' small. But I used to always use this for my outer corner. Trying to see where you can see it better. I used to always use this for my outer corner because it's angled. And for also inner corner when I was doing halo looks a while ago. If you see dryness on my nose, I just now noticed it. It's like right here. So if you see it, and if you didn't now, I'm sure you do. But I do apologize if it's distracting because it's distracting me. So I shouldn't have pointed it out, and I should have just left it alone because now it's starting to flake. I am so gross. This is gonna bother me now. Okay, so let's stop picking the nose. There's a piece of dead skin. I want to just kind of edit this out, but I'm trying to get it off without wiping off my makeup, but it ain't working. Oh, I just made it worse. Okay, let's just... I'm gonna edit this out because now it's like a piece of dead skin just hanging. I am so gross. I'll be right back. Hopefully that worked. I apologize, y'all. I know I'm just gross. Because I'm a troll and it's still Yeah, I took off some foundation and concealer because now it's, but anyway. So this one, that whole thing was like, why? And I'm keeping it in because we just keep stuff in here. I mean, we are who we are, right? So I used to use this when I did halo eyes because of the point. Where's the point? There's the point. That gets right here. And for outer corner, pointy side down, that would get that shade right there. And so even though I don't do halos, well, I started doing them again a little more often than I was, but even just doing outer corner shade because of the point, and it actually lines up my shadow. If I just tap and go up a little bit, tap, I automatically have that straight line because of the angle of this brush, and then I'll just brush it over and blend. So that's what I would use it for. But I find lately it's a little too flimsy for me. And maybe I'm just rough with stuff, or I've gotten used to other brushes that I have. And sometimes that happens. And so that's what made me want to go back to using this one because I really used to like it. And now I don't use it that much anymore. And so I do have two of those. But that's what these are good for. For me is pointy side down, inner corner, pat it. Pointy side down, outer corner, pat, and then blend inward. And so it did work really well for that. And also, along the same line as that one, this feels like it has something in here. When I was saying about primer or whatever. This is an Esom T37. And so it's the same shape. Let me find that one again. It was shorter than the other brushes, so it was hiding from me. So the same deal, same shape, except this one is more wide and it's a little bit longer. And so because it's longer, it's more loose, where this one is more, it is soft. This one is softer. Actually, they're both really soft. But because the Esom one is shorter, it gives me more control. This one is the one I've been using more recently when I've done halo looks. And the same deal, pointy side down, it just gets right into the inner corner, pointy side down, pat, move up a little bit, pat, move up a little bit, and then I automatically have that shape. Now, whether the shape is maintained once I do all the other stuff, that's a different story. But initially, it does give me that sharp shape. And so I pat and pull inward. I pat and pull inward. And so that's what I do with this. And you can use this for blending, but for me, it doesn't work for blending because this part goes back and forth, the top pointy part. But you could, and you could just swipe all the way across the lid if you want to. If you want to do your crease shade this way, you can. If you want to place your transition shade this way, you can. Like whatever you want to use it for. But what I use it for is pointy side down, inward corner, pointy side down, outward corner, and then just blend inward toward the center of the lid. This one, Scott Barnes number 63 brush, a fan brush. I used to love this brush for same thing. Pointy side down, pat color here, do a halo look, pointy side down, put color here and feather inward, or just for an outer corner color, because of the shape of it, I could just place it and feather it. What I loved it for when I first got it was placing the outer corner shade and then just turn my wrist and it would automatically take it over into my transition area. So let me show you that. I would place the shadow here, feather it inward, and then just turn my wrist, and look at this. It would just go right into my transition area without me having to do, I guess, more work. And so it made it really easy for me. And so placing it on the outer corner, like right here on the tip, and then just turning it, it automatically would go where I wanted to go. And I used this all the time when I first got it. I haven't used it a lot lately. Sometimes what my problem is with this brush is if I'm doing outer corner, because of the shape of it, I miss getting shadow like right here. And so then what I would do is after I have it feathered the way I want to, I have the transition area the way I want to, I'll put shadow on the tip of the brush and pointy side out and just come here along the lash line and get shadow close to my lash line that way. But that's what I like this shape shader brush for, and also transition or your crease. These are the ones you see me use most often. These three. And I'll tell you why I like each one. This one from Fenty, the number 230, I have multiples of these. I probably have at least 6 of these, maybe even 8, not sure. The number 230 brush, and it says blending. The same thing with the Sigma brush that says blending. The shapes are similar. They're wide, they're flat, and they're tapered. And the same concept. You can use it for blending, turn it sideways, and do your crease, do your transition, or use the tip of the brush to go directly in your crease. But I tend to just use it for packing because of the length of it. You know, I just pack it on and use the tip of the brush to do the blending after the lid shade is on, because my lid shade again is up here. And so I will just either swipe it on depending on if it's a matte or a shimmer, and then use the tip of the brush to blend. That's what I use this brush for. And I use this mostly for my lethal shadows, because lethal shadows are pigmented. They are the mattes. And I'm saying that because the other two are not as loose, and it's because they're not as tall. And so if you, let me try to line up the heads. So you see the Fenty one is the taller one. The Hourglass is the thicker one. And the Isom is short and a little more stubby. So they each serve a different purpose for me, but I can use them all for all the same things. But I tend to pull the Fenty one with Lethal's mattes because I don't need, this just picks up just the right amount. Where if I used, the Hourglass brush, it would pick up a lot and it would just be like, pow. And sometimes I don't want the pow. Sometimes I want the option of just placing, blending, and then building up the shade. So this I really like for really pigmented, not densely packed eyeshadows. And this works really well for me for that. And you've seen me use this countless times, and I have a lot of those. The Hourglass number 3, I love this brush. It's dense, but it's soft. Like, it doesn't bend the way the Fenty one, let me do it here so you can see. It doesn't bend the way the Fenty one bends, but if you go sideways, like this brush is flexible. This I like for more dense shadows, whether it be a metallic or a shimmer that's not flaky, or for a matte shade, because this will pack it. This is great for just packing. It'll just go and it'll stay where I put it, and then I can just pack and then take some more pack here, take some more pack here. And because this is wide, if I'm doing one shadow here, first quarter of the lid, another shadow here, second quarter of the lid, another shadow here, third quarter, another shadow, fourth quarter. This fits perfectly, like right where I want that shadow to go. And once I place the shadow, sometimes I will use the tip of the brush just to get the blend going up here in the transition area. And so that's what I really like this for if I want a more dense brush, and it depends on the density of the eyeshadow. And also this is great for me for metallics that aren't really flaky, because it will hold the shadow and then it'll place it. And because the primer I use is a tacky primer for me, this just sticks right to it. And if you've seen any of my looks I've done with this brush or any of these shader brushes, I'll just tap it, boom, and the shadow is just like pow. So I really do like this brush for that. The last one I'm going to show you, do we want to do blending for this video? Maybe, because we're at 25 minutes right now. Probably less, because I did screenshots before for the thumbnail. This is the Isom V27 brush. You've seen me use this a lot, mostly for shimmers, metallics, Pat McGrath's celestial shades. Speaking of which, I also use sponge tip applicators, and I purchased these specifically to use with the celestial shades because some of them are flaky. If they're not flaky, I'll use this one. But even if I use this brush for it and I lay down the celestial shade or any shimmer, Going back in with this, it will intensify the shadow. For me, the sponge tip applicator does mimic a finger application. So if you keep hearing, oh, for this you have to use your finger, and you don't want to use your finger, try sponge tip applicators. I do have a link down below for from Amazon for these particular ones. And they're not expensive at all. It comes in a pack of 30, but each side has 2. So actually you have 4, 1, 2, 1, 2. And so it comes in a pack of 30. I have backups on standby because I use them quite a bit. So, but these I use for metallics, I use for shimmers. If it's a flaky shade, because it's small, it's going to hold the shadow and it gives me control. And it does take longer if I'm putting the metallic all over my lid, which usually I don't, but I'll use this to do my inner. Let me demonstrate. Like how this is the difference between the hourglass and the esom. So how I said I can take the hourglass and I can just pack it here and it's there. This one I would have to pack it and then go back in and pack it and move it over. Whereas with this hourglass brush, because it's wide, it covers a wider area. So I'm able to move quicker with this one than this one, but the esom one gives me more control. But it is great for me for shimmers, metallics, and flaky shades, just pressing it in and just moving along as I go and as the shadow is there. I find lately I love this for my halo / spotlight looks when I do just a strip right down the center of the lid. This is the perfect size for my eye shape because you see I got real estate, as they say, a lot of real estate. So this, I'll start here and just wipe it down and then go back and forth and blend it. But this is good for detail work for me because it is more narrow. And if I'm doing outer corner, because it's thinner, even the tip of it is thinner, I can just place it. Or if I want to do an outer V with this brush, which I usually don't do, I can just tap the shadow here and then tap it here and get the V and then just blend it inward. So this is really good for that. Sometimes if I'm having trouble getting shadow near my lash line, I'll use the tip of it because it is a narrow brush and make sure I'm getting shadow on my lower lash line, or don't worry about it because by the time I put on eyeliner, it's going to cover up whatever bald spot I have right there anyway. This shape brush you can also do along your brow bone. You can do underneath your lower lash line. Whatever way a brush works for you, that's what you use it for. And so I just want to encourage you, just try different things. Like if it says, okay, shader brush, you can use it for other stuff. You can use it for concealer around your nose. You can use it to contour your nose, which I never do because I accept my nose. I got a big ass nose. Y'all see that. And I don't care. So I never contour my nose. But if you did, you can use this to contour your nose because it is small enough to do that. You can use it for concealer if you want. You can use it to, carve out your brows with concealer. Whatever you want to do. But for me, I just use this for packing on shimmers and metallics because it gives me a lot of control. And it's dense. It holds the shadow, but then it also places it really well too. And also this brush, it doesn't stain. The hourglass brush, it doesn't stain. The Fenty brushes, it stains. And so I was wondering, and I've had all of these brushes for years and years and years. This eye is tearing. I was wondering if whenever these do fall apart or shed or whatever, if I would repurchase them because I don't like that they stain, but I do like how they perform. And so that's something I've been asking myself in the back of my mind is, would I just be content with just these 2 different brushes? But I really do like how this one is a little more flexible for those very pigmented lethal shadows that I use. I do like them. And I do use these for lethal shadows too, but I find that I pull for this one with lethal shadows. And I find I pull for this one with more densely packed mattes and also metallics and shimmers. And definitely this one for shimmers and metallics and the celestial shades. And so those are the shader brushes that I use. We're going to end this here and then I'm going to click off, come right back, and we're going to talk about the brushes that I use for blending, transition, crease, which I don't do that process, but excuse me. Yeah, so we'll be right back. Thank you. So comment are always welcome. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that. You know, looking at my analytics, there's quite a few of you that just keep coming back. So just go ahead and subscribe, click the notification bell, click the like button if whatever videos you watch of mine that you like. If you don't like them, click the thumbs down button. That's okay too. If you're interested in joining, you can click to see what the perks are for that. And that will be it for this video. I just realized my thing is slanted. Oh well. Okay, so as always, self-acceptance, self-love, that is the Crazy Troll Nation way. Thank you, and you will see me soon.